All right. It's 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Welcome to Coaching for Coaches. My name is Phil Valentine. I've been in recovery since December 28, 1987. So that was 37 years ago. I got into recovery working on year 38. I've retired now for working on 3, 4 months from the Connecticut Community for Addiction Recovery. Was the executive director and I had a 25-year career there. Trained a lot of coaches, talked to a lot of people, and thoroughly enjoy our hour and a half we have together to talk about some topics. And I think this is the first of the A series. And when I retired, I thought of myself in 6 different roles, kind of like that Who Am I exercise in the Recovery Coach Academy. I think of myself as an artist that seems to be taking the lead lately, an angler, which is another word for fisherman, and clever because it starts with an A, an author, an advocate still for people in recovery, definitely an adventurer, and finally, I want to be an athlete these last years, just to keep myself fit enough to do the other 5. So I got to kind of take care of all those things. But anyway, we're here today to talk a little bit about the first day is artist or artistry or art, however we want to break that down. Megan, it looks like she's enjoying something good to eat first thing in the morning. Hello, Miss Sandy. Long time no see. How you doing? There's people from all over. Oh, we got Celine Dion, also known as CC here, straight from, no, just CC. Michael, how are you, buddy? Say hello.
Hello, everyone, far and wide.
Far and wide. There we go. Um, so I'm interested. I'm very curious about how we're thinking about this topic. So my question is, to introduce yourself, I'd like you to give us your name, where you're seated right now, so we kind of have an idea of where you're actually seated, and um, something you have found beautiful recently. And of course, that's very subjective, what you find beautiful and what you determine recent to be. So I am actually sitting on the cove, a little cove in Warwick, Rhode Island, where Sandy and I have settled down um, for the beginning of my retirement years, you know. And something I have found beautiful recently, well, there's a few things, but I'll go with this one. That there's sometimes when the light hits the water and the sky and the clouds that is totally unexpected. Like it was a grayish day and there were silvers and grays and whites and just spectacular that I noticed that. So it was really more about the beauty in nature, just light reflecting off the water and what that looks like. So, um, name where you are sitting and something you find beautiful. Who'd like to go? Cece, did you like raise your like real hand? You did. Okay.
Hi, my name is Celine Diapa. I am the special one out of the group. I raise my hand like this
Mhm.
instead of virtually. I am actually sitting in Manchester, Connecticut, Phil and Sandy's old town.
Mhm.
I am something that I found recently beautiful. My new home,
Mhm.
my hidden gem.
Amen.
Yes.
Thank you, Cece. Michelle, hi.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Michelle Tavoris, she, her pronouns. I currently live in Sitka, Alaska. I just moved here a year ago from Illinois. So drastic change, but warmer here than it is there, so that's cool. Um, by like 30 degrees. Something I found recently beautiful is I just moved into a smaller apartment because it's really expensive in Alaska to live here. So I went down from a two bedroom to a one bedroom. But what's beautiful is that I'm super close to the Raptor Center here, which is where um, they help eagles go back out into the community that are
Oh, wow.
injured. So that's pretty beautiful that I like can see their backyard from my window here, which is amazing.
Thank you. That's cool. Mickey.
Good morning. My name
Hi,
is
Mick.
Mickey Wiles, and I am from and sitting in Burlington, Vermont. Um, and something recently beautiful is real recent. You know, we get a lot of cloudy days in Vermont in the wintertime. But this cold weather has brought clear weather. And right now it's totally blue and the mountains are just completely white covered. And it's an opportunity to see them. And it's just the beauty of that is just amazing. It's just to be able to look out. We're pretty here in um, this part of Vermont. We're surrounded by mountains. Here in Vermont and across the lake in New York. So it's just the white covered mountains are just incredible and beautiful.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Hi, Amber.
Good morning. My name is Amber and I am in Wisconsin right now. Um, it was like -30 yesterday, but it's warmed up to 20 today. So I'm happy about that. And then something I found beautiful was I was on vacation in Florida last week, which thank goodness, because they have snow this week. But I was on the beach and I was just doing a walk up and down the beach. And then I noticed that there were some messages written in the sand and they went for about a mile and they were all just great messages, super inspirational and very thankful for the woman who wrote those. So that was something I found beautiful.
Thank you. Name, where you're sitting, and something you have found beautiful recently. Sarah? Eh, I can't hear you. I don't know why. Well, we'll come back to you in a minute. Thank you. Uh, oh no, it's not Helu. It is Helu? Wow, you made my day. I see
You made my
Helu's here.
day.
Okay.
Hello, Phil.
Going to
Hello.
be a good day.
Oh, it's a good day. It is a good day. Yeah, chance to connect, reconnect here. So, happy January, everybody. And so I am Hilu Bayen. I am in Baltimore, Maryland. And something I found recently beautiful is a new pup we have.
Oh,
New puppy, because we were at that house with no dogs. I have a 9-year-old. No, we're not going to. I love dogs. I love animals at somebody else's house, somebody else's, but not ours. But the magic of this 8-week-old puppy coming and the engagement, my son, I see him taking on a whole new responsibility in the innocence of this little puppy and a blank slate and I get an opportunity to kind of coach him to coach, and then it coaches me the way he coaches it. I guess that's the way I would see it. And it is just so beautiful to hold this little pup and know that he is taking responsibility and for another life. And just watching the interaction, I find that amazingly priceless.
that's cool. Thank you, Helu. Good to see you.
Good
So,
to see
so
you.
good to see you.
Great to see you.
Hello, Edgardo there in New Haven. What's going on?
Rafael Munoz here from Seacar, New Haven.
Yeah.
And what I find, which I didn't pay attention to when I was so revved up in my addiction in life itself, because I'm addicted to many things, work, money, clothes, anything to be the well-dressed life. But what I found was beautiful was I was up early in the morning. I got to see the morning dew. I got to see the sweat on my window pane and stuff like that, and how the sun just meets me. And that was beautiful to me. You know what I'm saying? I never
Mhm.
took the time to pay attention. And how much does it cost me to pay attention? You know, it wasn't much, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Uh,
right.
New London. Hi, Chris.
Just go ahead.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Chris. I'm a person in recovery. Excited to learn more about recovery coaching and explore the topic of artists. So it's very interested in what that actually means. Um,
Me
yeah,
too.
I'm I'm here with a couple volunteers, and I'll let them introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Glenn. I'm a volunteer. I'm just excited to learn more about recovery and the different steps.
Great.
Yes, and my name is Eduardo Quinones. Grateful to be a part of the New London C Card,
Mhm.
a volunteer, and I found this place a good place to start in my recovery. Um, I'm learning a lot of new things, and I'm involved in the groups, and just grateful to be here.
Thank you. Welcome. Glad you're here too. Oh, is that Kelly in Romantic Willimantic? Hi, Kelly. You might want to we're going to unmute so you can say hi.
You know I do this all the time. Hi, Phil. How you doing? Hello,
Well
everyone.
enough. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to be with you today. My name is Kelly, and I'm a woman in long-term recovery. For me, that means it's been 9 years since I had a drink of alcohol. I am also the volunteer manager here at the Wyndham Recovery Community Centers. And things that give me joy is I like doing service work. I like helping others whenever I can because when I do service work, that makes me feel good. And so I serve God, who is my higher power. I serve others in the recovery community, and then I serve my community in which I live in. So that's what my recovery is about: service work, giving back, and just spreading a little bit of joy. Thank you. I have someone with me.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. My name is Danielle. I am recovering. I'm a CCAR volunteer, aspiring RCF professional. Something I find beautiful. You know what? The recovery community here,
Hmm.
like CCAR, really. When I came here to Willimantic, I really was unaware that CCAR originated here. I became familiar with CCAR in Willamette, in Hartford, actually, on Weathersfield Avenue. I used to go to meetings here years ago. So finding out about the history of CCAR here in Wyndham was really, really beautiful. And I look forward to learning more and growing more. And good morning, God bless, love you all.
Thank you. Welcome. Hey, Paul, how are you?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Paul, and I am in Springfield, Massachusetts, otherwise known as kind of the Wild West here from Boston, right? We're on a whole other planet over here. And recently, what's coming to mind as today, joining and the topic being, the art of coaching, right? And just the idea of art. I recently went to go and see Zach Sabbath in Rhode Island. And that is this guitar player, Zach Wild, right? That's played with Ozzy for like 30 years. So now he has a cover band playing the music of Black Sabbath, which he is a massive fan of. And it was just incredibly epic. And whether you're a fan or not, I'm bringing this moment up because he has taken this art and he is bringing it and moving it forward with such passion and really fidelity and spirit. It was really incredible. So that's kind of what's coming to mind with coaching, here as we all embrace our own art and are moving it forward and continue pushing it forward. So I just wanted to share that with everyone. Oh, you're muted, Phil.
Thank you very much. I got somebody at the door, so anyway, that's why the dog's barking. Danbury Recovery Community Center. Good to see you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Brian. I'm a person in recovery. And I guess we're talking, well, the topic is artists and how that pertains to coaching. Honestly, I would say right now, maybe just being open-minded and kind of how I've heard it shared before, like staying curious. I guess as an art form, being able to be coached while coaching in a sense. I guess that's what's kind of resonating with me right now. Just learning about a recovery or someone else, different topic, different thing. And then also I have a volunteer here with me as well.
Yes. Hi, my name is William. I'm a volunteer addict. What is it?
What are your ideas on how or the art of coaching?
Well, I can't really say. The art of coaching. I think just for me, I'm looking forward to being able to help someone and teach them all that I can teach, not knowing yet exactly how, so I always have to wing it as I go along, and basically I will leave all to God to kind of lead me in a direction to lead the person to a better life, and live sober and a clean life.
Well, it's so good to see. Thank you for being here. Megan, how are you,
Hi.
dear? And have you found anything beautiful recently?
Oh my goodness, of course. You know me, you find it all day long.
Hmm.
So I'm Megan. I'm in Southeast Massachusetts in my dine office, which is my dining room office. And I just I just love seeing beautiful things. It's like one of my favorite things. But the one I'll pick for today is I love animal tracks in the snow. So I love when we have a fresh snow and then I go take the dog out and it's like this secret world that, like I'm fascinated by all the animals, like the squirrels doing squirrel stuff and the bunnies are doing bunny stuff and the birds are doing bird stuff. And it's just really neat. It sparks my curiosity to get to kind of try to interpret what's going on. And the most beautiful one that I love is when you can see the wingtips. So you'll see sort of two sets of lines, and like a bird just like landed lightly, and the wings hit the snow, and then it took off again. And oh, I found one of those this morning. It was absolutely beautiful.
Wow, that's cool. Thank you. Edgardo, you got somebody else there?
Hello everyone. My name is Edgardo. I'm grateful to be in recovery. Volunteer manager at our New Haven location. And something that I found beautiful was I didn't have to wake up with the monotony of where am I going to get my next dollar to get me through the day. Now I wake up with responsibilities and I have goals and plans, and I cleaned the bathroom for my fiance. She hasn't touched the bathroom in 2 years, so we're doing really well. And just knowing that you can find love at the age of 47 and one of the most peaceful relationships after learning CCAR ways, just being a good listener helps me out a lot, Phil. Thanks.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Edgardo. Hi, Scott.
Hi, good morning, Phil. Good morning, Michael. My name is Scott Alexander. I'm a person in long-term recovery, an RCPF here at the Bridge Club of Greater Lowell, Massachusetts. I'm seated in my office at the Bridge Club. And something that I found beautiful recently was being able to go on vacation. I just got back from Clearwater, Florida, and the hotel we were at was totally amazing, right on the beach, and it was absolutely gorgeous and beautiful to have a week and just to relax and get motivated, recharged. So thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Hello, Sandy.
Good morning, Sandy Valentine, sitting in Providence, Rhode Island.
And you know, I could easily copy a little bit of your nature since I do get to see that when I'm home, but I'm gonna go different. Um, by the way, one of my interns that went to the RCA last week or the week before, she said we're a perfect match, and I started belly laughing. But anyway, uh, I walked out into our community space this morning, and there are three gentlemen sitting there that have been coming here for at least a year and a half. And they didn't look so good when they started coming here. And when I went out today, all three of them had a light in their eyes, a smile on their face, and seemed really peaceful. And so when you're talking about seeing beauty, that was a great start to the day. See the beauty on their faces.
A great example. Thank you. Uh, Anybody else? Name where you're sitting and something you found beautiful recently. Sarah, let's give it a go again.
I put on the headset. How's that?
It
Yay!
worked.
Okay, cool. I'm in northwestern New Jersey, a little town called Hackettstown. And I'm at home working from home today. And something beautiful I saw rather this morning. I have a bird feeder like right outside my window, and there was I think that's a pileated woodpecker. It's the one with like the
Yeah.
red head,
Mhm.
and he's just like 2 feet away from the window, and it's just so cool. I do a gratitude list with one of my buddies when I work recovery buddies, and it was like just from that you say, okay, like I'm grateful I saw the woodpecker. I'm grateful I have the bird feeder. I'm greatly grateful I have the money to buy the bird seed to have, and it just kind of creates this cascade of really nice stuff. So that's it for me.
Thank you. Hi, Leanne.
Hi, good morning. My name is Leanne Meyer, and I am in Wheeling, West Virginia. I'm a woman in long-term recovery, and I have two things I feel like are beautiful recently. One is my dog, because I think she's the cutest thing ever. Say hi. And then my other one is I have two clients who recently moved from the homeless shelter into their own apartment, and to just see how happy that has made them, and to see them getting things for their apartment, it's been really nice. It's been a nice journey to be on with them.
Cool. Thank you, Leanne. Hi, Ed. How are you?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Phil, Mike. I'm Ed Havlovic, and I'm sitting here in Weehawken, New Jersey, and it is cold.
Yes.
And what I find beautiful, I am never disappointed from the opportunity of having moments with my family. And any time that I have time with my family is always a beautiful moment. The ability to reconnect is something that's very important to me. Some of you may know, and I don't share it often, but I am from a very large family of siblings. And any time and every time that we get together is a wonderful opportunity for us to reconnect. Even when the reconnection is a sad reason to reconnect. I am flying back to the Midwest later today, so I'm going to be saying goodbye to you early. But even in sad moments, there is great beauty when moments and hearts are shared. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Ed. Shireen.
I'm working for CCAR, the Department of Corrections. Right now, I'm traveling from one center to another, and I love this, going to help another person get on their right path of recovery and showing them the way. Also, what I see beauty in, even being a coach, you go through things, and sometimes the light just seems to get so dim. But then when you have a Zoom meeting with Phil, that I can gain more knowledge and more gold from to help me with what I'm going through now. That's a good thing for me this morning, because I know at the end of the day, there is light at the end of my tunnel. Just stay free, stay in recovery, stay focused, help the next recovery. I'll be all right.
All right. Thank you, Shireen. Always great to see you. So here's a big question. And without Googling it and without like any of that, how do you define art? Just in general, not with recovery, just art in general. How do you define art? Have you ever thought about it? What would you say if somebody asked you, like an 8-year-old asked you, hey, what's art? This is where one of you would like raise your hand and jump in and add something. It is. Shireen, go ahead. How do you define art? Well, you're muted, so, but I don't want you to crash your car either.
The way I represent myself in the art of bringing it to somebody natural and serene.
Okay. How do you define art there in New London? What would that look like? Just the term ART. How do you define art?
Art will be something or whatever you want to create and something that you see and you put into action. That's about it.
Something you want to create, something you see and you put into action. Okay.
I'm gonna say art is the generic term for personal expression.
Personal expression. Okay. Thank you. Ed. Hello, Ed. I don't hear you. Oh, there you go.
Because I didn't unmute myself. Sorry, Phil. I think art for me is a representation, usually in a creative format, that is representing a moment of life. And it can be in any form, whether it's sculpture, art, dance. There's various forms of it. And I think art is less of a imitation as more as an expression of a feeling or emotion of life or a moment, a point of life.
Okay. Sarah.
I was thinking about what the gentleman shared from, not sure, I think Edgardo maybe in the background. Someone he said not knowing yet. So I was thinking about creating out of nothing, right? With this kind of going into that space and then creating something out of that. That's what came to my mind.
Thank you. Also, take a look at the chat if you don't have that open, because there are some people putting some insight in the chat as well. Edgardo, you're muted. They're over there though in New Haven. You guys are muted. I know. What is it like, people? Is this your first Zoom meeting here or what? You know? Edgardo, you're still muted in New Haven. I can't hear you in New Haven. You are muted. You are still muted in New Haven. All right, we'll come back to you. Megan, what's up? You know how to unmute your thing there? You do? Okay, good.
That was spicy. You're getting spicy, Phil.
I know. I get ornery when I'm old and retired. I get a little grouchy. That's okay.
I think they're just talking to each other, not to
Oh,
us.
all right. They just have their hand raised and just talking to each other. I'm not sure.
I think
Definition
this
of
is,
art.
yeah, it's incredibly difficult, but I think, um, yeah, I think it's kind of building on what Ed said. Like it's an expression of what makes us human. Like it's any kind of an articulation of our humanity that serves that is not for a purpose other than giving form or shape to what makes us humans. And I think often that's a conveying of emotion that, like Lisa said in the chat, we don't, the words, language really falls short. Of course, much of language is art as well, but yeah, and it's the highest form of articulation of humanity.
Mhm. Cool. Thank you. Um, Hilu.
Yes, good to see you again, Phil. For me, it's funny when you say art, immediately goes to craft your art. The conversations we always have, but art is just simply for me is that creativity, that expression of that creativity of the skill that we bring to what we know in the background as facts or what we've seen or experienced in our life to bring it in our own skill, creativity and skill.
Got it. Barry, good to see you. How are you, my man?
Well, good to see you too. I think for me, art and for a person that has no physical ability to any artistic gifts at all, but for
Oh,
me, art is a freedom, expression of your freedom, right?
okay.
To be able to be authentic and be free, you can do whatever's art to me is my art. It may not look the same to you as it looks to me, so that's the way I define art.
All right. Uh, and so we have a lot of like expression of ideas, imaginations. We do have an art therapist in here, which I can't even believe she's here, but I'm glad Lisa's here. And she talks about a method of communicating something that is beyond words or never had words. Probably doesn't even need words to have an exchange between the viewer and the creator. Wow. Yeah, I love that definition as well. So, and, are there things that people can express or create that are not art?
Anything I cook, it's definitely not art.
I don't know about that. I was thinking more like, go ahead, Mickey.
Yeah, what comes to mind for me is, the expression is it art or science? And,
Hmm.
so something that is scientific in nature or mathematical, which is driven by education and formulas, and there's a right or a wrong. It's an expression. You're expressing yourself, but you're doing it by some external guidance or direction, not driven from something internal in terms of expressing your creativity.
Gotcha. Thank you, Megan.
That's making me think that all things are art. Almost everything we do is a creative expression. Like math is actually very much, I think, an artistic, creative. Like when you look at how people figure out those formulas,
Okay.
I think of that as an artistic act. I think science too requires incredible creativity to figure out how to find the thing or how to measure the thing or how to. So I think perhaps I guess if you want to differentiate between art and creativity, then we're having a little bit of a different conversation.
Right.
But I think that almost everything that we do is innately creative. We are constantly problem solving, exploring, and trying to be outside of the box to navigate whatever each new thing is that we encounter each day. And so, um, there's an art to making my coffee in the morning. Right? If someone else can, I can give them the exact measurements and specifications, and it's going to be different than when I make it.
Hmm.
So perhaps it is just an innate quality that we bring to everything that we do. And we may think of it that way, or we may not think of it that way, but we are inherently uh, creative and therefore expressing our humanity through most, if not all, of our actions.
Let me ask you a question since you're on the top corner. The
Okay.
Is there art in like evil or destruction or violence or ugliness?
I think there is art in the
Yeah.
design of some of those acts and some of those things.
So it's just a question. You don't have to answer it,
And
but
No, I
does
don't think they're,
have to be
yeah.
good, true, and beautiful to be true art. It does not. Anybody else that want to jump in? Eric.
Hey, how you doing?
Okay.
I think about this all the time. I love photography. I love music. I love all these things. And so, can ugly things be art? Can evil be art? Can nature be art? Nature was not created, by a human being with any type of intention, which is something I sometimes try to attribute to art. So recently, I've just been thinking of art as something that requires an observer, um, and inspires a deeper meaning beyond maybe the media or the tree or the brook or whatever it is. It just inspires a deeper emotional reaction than the actual physical qualities of what is being observed. So it's some type of sensory stimulus.
Mm.
Um, and that's just kind of my word salad of things I was thinking about.
Yeah, no, it's a good, and that's what I wanted to do. It's just get people thinking. So, um, I want to also now bring this into the Recovery Coach Academy. And what you all have taken is what is when we talk about it, what do we mean specifically? What is the art of recovery coaching? What's in that word? The art of recovery coaching. Anybody? New London.
Yeah, so when I think about art of recovery coaching, I think, and that's part of what I love about the role in comparison to other kind of roles in the field of recovery is that we have these guiding values and principles and as well as information to help us best help the recovery we're working with. But there's also, it's not an exact science. There is some sort of, I guess we could coin it art to it, and how I feel very much like the type of art I put forth varies depending on the situation and the individual in front of me. So for me, I think that's where the art comes into it, and kind of being empowered to have that paintbrush, or at times maybe it's a microphone or a dish of food, or I could change my medium, I could change the tone of my presentation to best suit how I can effectively help the person in front of me.
Thank you, Chris. Sarah.
Yeah, I was thinking, I think probably along similar lines that, we can receive training and we can learn best practices, but to me, art again is that creation that happens, it's this taking the knowledge and information, blending it with my personal experience, and then perceiving whoever is in front of me, right? That all of those elements come together to create something. So it's not just applying this sort of it's not a paint by numbers, right? It's going to take that kind of unique combination of those elements to create something new.
Okay, thank you. Edgardo in New Haven.
Yes, thank you. I put down for art in recovery coaching, I put dimensions of connection, empathy, delivery, timing, trust, authenticity, being able to convey a message, and to motivate. And how that's done is by listening. And of course, the three-legged stool will come out on this. But how can I utilize the three-legged stool without being seen as using the three-legged stool? It's how well to continuously practice training and, ask good questions and make a connection where someone actually can creatively, because in their head, art happens, creativity happens, and they're like, I can actually paint a goal out with this guy across from me and trust that he'll assist me in removing those barriers. So just getting really, really good at it so it doesn't look like we're coaching. Most people sit across my desk and we're having a chat and we're getting through some of the toughest times in life. And that's what it is. But when I go into my report and put on my notes, it's labeled as a coach session, you know? But for us, it's actually coming to life because sometimes I get more out of a coaching session and it's a reciprocal balance of recovery. And some people help me more than I can help them, and it's a gift.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Edgardo. Hilu, what is the essence of the art of recovery coaching? What is the art?
Well, the essence for me is it takes me back to the first time when I took Recovery Coach Academy way back, and I
Mm-hmm.
am 100% confident that RCA, Recovery Coaching C card, the science can stand on its own to support someone, just going through that science. But what I discovered is when we talk about creating your art, crafting your art, and I think everyone has mentioned it, and I can't add much more other than the fact that it's the ability to navigate, to be able to have the or use a three-legged stool, but to be able to artfully treat everyone as a resource, but make it
Mm-hmm.
person-centered, to be able to deliver it without looking like you're delivering a science, even though the science is the core. You're crafting an art, you're carving to make sure that each person is treated as a whole, but that is their special path, their way, and making them feel engaged. And as many said, to be able to have the conversation and to be able to label it in your document as coaching, I like that. It didn't come off that way. It was a conversation and engaging. So the crafting of the skill to make it person-centered away from the science.
Okay. Thank you. Paul.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah, if I were to encompass it in one word, it's really one's approach, right? And it's, part of everything that everyone has mentioned, all these little pieces of that internal capital and experience, right? And I love what the other gentleman mentioned, our repertoire, so to speak, right? All of those pieces. Now, how do we use that in creating that safe space? So we could sit back and really not even say much, ask a question, give a little affirmation, and the person feels it's okay right
Mhm.
now, so they can now actually process and think and move forward, however, right? So it's really the approach and
I
in a
like that.
nutshell.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you. Megan.
Yeah, I think it's not dissimilar to what Paul was saying, but it's like taking the science and making it uniquely my own. So my art of coaching is how I enact all of those skills in my own particular unique way. Um, I think coaching is incredibly creative. I mean, it demands creativity and it's improvisation. I come from the theater world and it's improvisation. So I have all that science, all those skills, but how do I bring them into the creation of art with that person? We're making a painting together or we're, sort of creating something together and therefore what is the paintbrush that I use, or what is my palette of paints that are uniquely mine that I bring to the creation of it.
Hmm.
Um, and so everyone has their own art. There's no one art of coaching. It's just whatever is uniquely mine. The orchestra of how I could go on. See, I'm getting creative. The
All right.
orchestra of how I use the instruments and conduct them.
Exactly. Thank you. Barry, what's the art of recovery coaching? What do we mean by
Yeah, I
art?
think I think the art is actually the connection, right? And how you make the connection, the ability to make it like more like Duello said, a conversation, not a session. And being able to read the room and the art is all about kind of really all about timing. Like it's if you well my art I think at certain times I would say certain things and certain times I wouldn't say certain things. Certain times I would ask certain questions, certain times I would ask the question. And
Hmm.
I think it has a lot to do with timing and connect in order to make the proper connection where it creates that freedom of conversation. So
Yeah.
the person was willing to talk to you, and you can talk to them. And for me, it removes the like, because in coaching is a perceived hierarchy, right? That you're perceived to be, you're a coach. So I'm kind of, so you remove that perceived hierarchy, I think, and become kind of like equal, and that helps me make a better connection.
All right. Thank you, Scott.
Yes, it was good to hear everybody. And the art for me would be being curious and asking good questions. Wanting to know more. The art of being curious.
Hmm. You guys talked a lot about the art, and I just want to get a few responses. If you're looking at the art of recovery coaching, what's the science of recovery coaching? Because we talk about art and science. What's the science? Sandy?
The science is if you use your art well enough, you can document that it worked and it becomes science.
Uh, okay. I got to try to follow that one. Gotcha.
I
New
mean,
London.
I think many of us on the phone, right, we're subjected to the favorite phrase evidence-based outcomes, right? Which is got a lot of controversy with in the field, but that the evidence comes from using our art. And then you allow the evidence from other people's art to impact your art.
Okay. Gotcha. New London.
Yeah, when thinking about the science, I guess like the things that come to mind, especially with recovery coaching, would be like motivational interviewing, stages of change, stages of recovery, active listening, reflective listening, all these different science-based, evidence-based techniques that were taught and then kind of I would say that given the empowerment artistically express in a session, based on what we think the most effective way to do that is.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Chris. Lisa. Hello there.
Hello. Nice to see people. Um, I kind of described this a little bit in the chat, but I think of things as a metaphor, which is not surprising. But when I think about the art and science of coaching, I think about the science being MI, things that people described, and our style. So if we all had the same palette, if we were all working with the same watercolor set, we're all going to do it in our own way, which is so cool. And that's the magic, is that like, I'm going to make a mess. I'm going to use way too much paint. Someone's going to be really neat. Someone's going to use like the perfect small brush. I'm going to use the big one. I'm going to mix all the colors together. By the time we're done, my palette's going to be a mess, right? I'm going to be asking one of you for yellow or whatever. And like that, I think is exactly the metaphor of what we do. And that makes it so unique when we are working with people, is that we have a foundation in the tools and we get to be ourselves. Is like, it's so awesome.
Thank you. Anybody else on the art and science of recovery like to jump in? What's meant by art and what's meant by science? Sarah.
I was thinking, and forgive me, I think it may have already been said. I think the science part is like the structure that it can rest on. So that is the training, right? We all learn kind of these consistent principles. So I always love to think of like as the framework as the structure I rest on. So that's the science. Like Sandy mentioned, there's research and that goes into that, and certainly there's a lot of dialogue around best practices and that sort of thing. But I do like that's that kind of the consistent thing. And then the art is where, again, like it's that creative mix that we bring to the table.
Okay, thank you. Mickey?
Yeah, on a similar vein, the science for me is the toolbox. It's the tools that we have and we've learned. that we can use in coaching, and the art is knowing is deciding what tools to pull out of the toolbox and how to use them and how to make them the most effective. Um, so
Cool. Thank you, Scott.
Yes, yeah, the science is for me is the motivational interviewing and the recovery coach fundamentals. Treating the people as resources. Being able to listen actively, discovering and managing my stuff, and asking good questions. I mean, that's the science of. I mean, the fundamentals, right? Of what we're trying to bring across, and along with being curious, developing that art, for yourself, how you present the material that we've learned, creating empathy, um, being a good listener, and all those things. Yeah, the science of it. Nice.
Right. Okay, thank you. Um, Megan's on a whole like a whole soil plant seed metaphor over there. So in the chat, farming. Now we're going to farming, all this stuff. So here we go. But I recently was listening to a podcast that featured Thomas Campbell. And man, he's got some wild ideas, but um, and I can't disagree with them, and I don't know if I agree with them, but they certainly got my mind thinking. But I wanted to pull out a nugget because I knew I was doing this, and when you do this on artists and artistry and art, that nuggets come to you that kind of it crystallizes my thinking. And he said that basically a human mind or conscience or being is broken into two areas, the intellect and the intuitive. So there's intelligence and intuition, right? And what was fascinating about that was he said the intellect bullies our intuition. That like you could, I think one of the examples was like he was in a meditative state, wanted to contact his uncle who had passed, and he hears a voice, and then the intellect says, that wasn't real. What was that? You're just making that up. So the intellect is always bullying the intuition into submission. What I think we're saying, and this is what kind of coalesced for me, is this idea that the science of coaching is the intellect, right? The art of coaching is your intuition and how you proceed and how you deal with your mind and everything you've been taught and trained and all that, your intellect. Because I've seen many people come through the Recovery Coach Academy and want to intellectualize coaching. They want to have the right question for the right situation, the right resource, the right response, tell people the right thing to do. And that's kind of like, right, Paul, it's like trying to think your way to the answer. And I remember there was a coach we had recently hired in the emergency department, and he was like, well, he came up with this elaborate scenario, right, about what would happen. And I think I shocked him because I threw an F-bomb at him. And he goes, so what do I do? And I said, how the fuck do I know? And he just like went, huh? He just sat back because he just went, uh, what? And because I was like, I don't know. I don't know what your situation is going to be, what all the interests. I don't know the energy in the room. I don't know the people. I don't know how you're feeling, but I do trust this. I trust that if you go in with good intentions, I fully support your response because you're there. You're there in that situation. You're the artist with the paints, with the paintbrushes, what color you pull out, what brush you use to kind of go to Lisa's thing. I don't know because that's yours. But I trust that you are going to try to do the best thing with good intention. Any thoughts about that kind of switching those words, art and science, with intellect and intuition? Michael, good to hear from you. I love to hear from you, Michael. You're
So
the peacemaker.
it's funny because I was speaking in at a CVH not too long ago, and I introduced myself and I went straight into the tools, right, that we need because I feel like all my life I've been maybe taught this science, right, and it hasn't been drilled in my head, but I haven't been given the tools, those proper tools, right? And I look at it like as if I start off with a tool belt, right? And then it's my responsibility to fill up that tool belt as I go,
Hmm.
right? I don't know if you ever did carpentry, but I've seen this so many times where people have a tool belt, they get on the ladder, and then they forget a tool, and they got to get down from the ladder and get the tool
Yeah.
and not prepare themselves, right? So I was telling these individuals that when I first got hired as a coach in the emergency department, I'm glad that I had these tools to reference from, right? Because at times there were in cases where people called me some name out of my name, and if I didn't discover and manage my own stuff, I would have came out of there in handcuffs, lost my job, right? And not been prepared. Had somebody just came up to me out of recovery and say, "Hey, listen, you want a job in the emergency department? You're gonna help other people's help themselves, right?" And then place me there. Don't give me no type of tools, no type of training at all. How long will I last working there? Maybe I'll get lucky enough to just swing it and then learn as I go. I'm that type of person, right? If I am that type of person.
Hmm.
But chances are you're gonna be there for a few hours. Somebody's gonna call you out of there. You're gonna be like, "What the hell? You just called me?" And you go grab the person, and you lost your job. So I say that you equip yourself with the science, but it's really up to you for the art. The art is you ever gone to the barber shop and seen the barber dancing to the music and then cutting your hair at the same time? That's art. He's creating art. But at the same time, he's having so much fun with it. He's like playing music and just dancing. I would love a coach like that.
I can honestly say I've never had that experience in the barbershop.
Well, I invite you to because it's a
Uh,
great experience,
Dude, what are
right?
they gonna cut, dude? I'll go with you.
They'll add something to you, Phil.
All right. Thank you, Michael.
You're
Eric.
welcome.
Hey, I love that we're talking about this, like the two sides of coaching and also just how it relates to art.
Hmm.
Because again, like being a sort of creative person in general, I really, and I'm new to this, so I really thought like, man, I want to come in and just be like, I'm just gonna get it, and I'll just be like this intuitive, like, it's just gonna be it's just going to click for me, sort of like music did or other things. And then I did the academy and I started hearing about MI and things like that. I'm like, okay, well, there's some sheet music to look at here, and that's okay too. Like when I'm in an orchestra, most of them have sheet music in front of them, though they can all improvise, I'm sure, on their own. And so just easing into it, and then I'm listening to this stuff on Audible while I'm working. And I'm like, okay, I got it, right? And then I can just improv these conversations. And I realize that sometimes I get to a point in a conversation where I don't really know what to say, or I don't have that perfect open-ended question. And so I just been sort of like taking that responsibility to put my ego aside a little bit and say, like, I'm doing TRS, I'm doing telephone recovery support for most of it, besides the hospital visits, which are really just pretty quick. It's not maybe as in depth. And so I'm like, it's okay to prepare a couple questions. Like maybe I know where this person's at. I'm going to give them a follow-up call. There are probably like a couple open-ended questions I can think of now ahead of time. Like be humble, give myself a little crutch, give myself a little bit of sheet music. And like, that's okay that when it gets to a point in a conversation, I can maybe use something that I have prepared and not
Hmm.
like expect to be this prodigy or something. You know what I mean?
So when you hit that point where you don't know what to say, what is one of your responses? What do you
Oh,
do?
I don't know. I mean, honestly, like
Huh?
I looked up several different websites I have saved in this bookmarking tab where it's just like motivational interviewing,
Hmm.
open-ended questions, and it's got maybe five different categories. And if you're
Yeah.
trying to evoke, if you're trying to do this, if you're just ways to inspire change talk. And so I very much use it like a crutch, and I'll look through those websites or those sheets,
Yeah.
maybe just for like 5 or 10 minutes before I call somebody, and think like, where's this person at? What did we talk about last time? And
Okay.
what maybe could we do with this conversation? And I'll sort of cherry pick a couple of those. I don't really have any cookie cutter ones. That's just like
Oh,
my
I
my
know.
fallback, you know what I mean, when there's nothing to say. But I usually have a
Sometimes I,
general.
well, sometimes I just acknowledge the what I perceive to be the truth at the time.
Right.
I don't know what to say right now.
Yeah, yeah.
You
But
know?
being new, I don't want to have to be saying that all the time.
Oh, I know, but
Yeah.
there's times where you go, I just don't know what to say. Where do we go from here? And
Right.
that's
Right.
perfectly okay.
Yeah.
Uh, I love that you said that too. So thank you, Eric. Megan, what you thinking about?
How much I love getting my mind changed by other people in a space of like 15 minutes. I love it.
Yeah.
So I was kind of thinking when we were defining it as art and science that, we learn the science in the training and that's sort of like an acute intervention, right? And then we cultivate our art over time. But when you renamed it as intellect and intuition, I realized that no, actually, I didn't know shit about the science for years that I coached. I took RCA, I
Yeah.
took ethical consideration, I did other things, and I started coaching. And I coached for 5 years before I started training coaching, 4 years
Mhm.
before I started training RCA and all that stuff. And that's when I really learned the science. And in all that time, I had an introduction to the science but had become a master of the art, or not a master, but that I had gained skill, so that it was actually my intuition that was carrying me more in those first years of coaching than the science. And had
Mhm.
I not had the
Right.
ability to use my intuition, then I would have been completely, I could not have explained to you how, in practical terms, I would apply the stages of change to working with the people that, I could not have explained that to you until I started, facilitating. And yeah, so I think actually our intuition is the stronger um, form, at least it certainly is the art, but I think that may drive our coaching much more so than our mastery of science, um,
Yeah, you
and
remember
is
when
more important.
and sometimes that's what you're saying too to me is intuition. It's also disclosure when you're winging it. Like Art Woodard used to say when he first started as an alcohol counselor back in the 70s, like 90% of his technique was disclosure and talking about himself till
Mm.
at the end of his coaching career in life, he said um, less than 5% was anything about himself, so
Mm.
it was kind of an evolution as well. Paul.
Yeah.
I want to bring this back. What Michael shared, really made me think, the barber dancing, right? So, a bit of science. There's a Harvard guy, Sean Acker, I believe his name is. He talks about the brain is 31% more effective when you're in a good mood, right? So this takes us back to um, coaching, right? This work is predicated on our own well-being, right?
Hmm.
Doesn't mean I'm perfect, by no means, right? But by me working on me and my managing my stuff and my own wellness, right? Now I'm in a place where like, okay, I'm okay with me. I'm okay with my surroundings, and I can bring that and share that, right? Almost inherently, right? With the next person. So that's part of that creating that safety, right? Where now you're, can much more easily be in a flow, right? Because I don't have all my stuff from home right now. I'm here, I'm focused, and whatever my personal stuff is, it's not here right now because we're listening to the other person. So now we're just present. It's part of that being present. So the individual feels that and feels that safety. So they can now, be safe and back to, okay, now I can share with this person. They're cool. Right. So
Right.
just I'm connecting all of these pieces, to say that it's all encompassing. And at the end
Mhm.
of the day, what we're bringing is, what the results will be of that energy.
And just a clarifying thought when you were talking about we're creating the safety. No, we're creating safety not for just for the recovery, but for us as well. It's creating a an organizational culture or a meeting culture or a room, whatever that culture is, of where we both can interact well. So we create safety for both of us, not just for ourselves. However, you want to define that. What's up, Cece?
Hi. So for me, um, my art, which which can be kind of a catch-22 sometimes because I'm an empath and I feel things, and that's my intuition. My intuition is my art. Um, and the one thing that I'm grateful for is that intuition, because 9 out of 10, my intuition is always right, you know, and it tells me the right from wrong. Um, and and I have my tools. All the time, I may not have to use those tools, but I know that those tools are there. And if I do need to use them, I do use them. But yeah, absolutely. My science is my tools, but my art is my intuition.
Okay. I think a lot of times too, we talk like if you're going to do a job, like you have some small trees in your backyard, maybe the first tool you need is a chainsaw, that you want to take down. And I'm not sure but I think when I did the Recovery Coach Academy just last week and I introduced our two most powerful questions, those are like the chainsaw of a job, if that's what you were using them for. So any coaches can start with those two key tools. How can I help you with your recovery today? And what does recovery look like for you? If you have those two tools, you can go pretty darn far if you're open to where those two questions will lead you. How can I help you with your recovery today? And what does recovery look like for you? And that's the essence of what we do in those two questions. So we're talking about art and science, intellect and intuition. Anybody have any other thoughts that have been spurred by this conversation? I'd love to hear them. And we have someone from way across the pond, and she knows I'm going to call on her anyway. So, Khalees, I know you're thinking, you're always thinking about stuff.
I think the more I coach, the more I train, and the more conversations I have, I just come back to that love and care. If we can really just open our hearts, come to the conversation, and, talking about preparing. And I like to, I think, Michael, you had said it is my responsibility to gain those tools and skills. And I think that is missing sometimes. Is like, it is my responsibility to improve my coaching skills. It is my responsibility to get curious, to ask questions, to learn how I can develop. It's not your responsibility to train me. I still have to do the work. Isn't there a quote where it's like, if you involve me, I learn, I grow. We have to, the best way we can become better coaches is by coaching, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
guess I don't know, the more I coach everything, it's just, am I able to really just shut everything off? I can be a perfectionist at times, thinking I need to prepare, get on my list of questions. And I was that, a wise man once said, what you have is enough. And so I've learned to close everything down and just show up. And let me tell you, it's amazing what happens if we can have the ability to trust ourselves and just have a conversation with someone. Yes,
Hmm.
I have that science stuff in the background, noticing when where people are at in the stages of recovery and stages of change. I have all that. But do I actually say you are at the deepening stage right now? Like, let's discuss this further. No, I just noticed it and I'm like, what are some things we can explore? And I just, but yeah, that we live in a very selfish world or like self-seeking, and it's like, what I'm not here to serve myself, I'm here to serve others. And if I can really keep that at the forefront and seeking to understand, I would say curiosity is my greatest asset. Why do you feel that way? Why are you angry? What does that look like? Just
Hmm.
I want to know. I'm just a very naturally curious person. So yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Khalees. Always good to see you. Cece.
I just want to piggyback off of that a little bit. Always treating them as a resource, being compassionate, letting don't take the choice from them. Always allow them to make their choice.
Hmm.
And doing things with empathy, compassion. Your heart. They're just as human as we are. They're no different.
Hmm. Gotcha. Thank you. Megan.
Yes, something Khalees said really uh helped something else click for me. So when we think about tuition, we think about listening and how, there's always all these things outside of us where we're like, listen to your gut, listen to your intuition, because we're so bad at it, generally speaking.
Hmm.
So there's a form of deep listening that's necessary in order to work from intuition, and that lives, we think of intuition at living sort of deep in our bellies or in our chest, like in this part of our body. And um, coaching, right? Listening is the first thing you have to do. It's the most important thing that we do is really deep listening for what's said, but even more so for what's unsaid, or um, and that part of coaching, like to me, when I'm doing my best coaching, I'm in my belly and I'm in my chest.
Hmm.
And that's where I'm listening from, and that's where I'm thinking and acting from. And in storytelling, we say that listening is just as sacred an act as storytelling. And there's a quote that I love from a woman named Valerie Kaur, and she has a book called See No Strangers. And she says, I listen not to change you, but to be changed by you. And I think that that is just such a profound statement on listening and coaching. And so I'm just all in my belly and my chest loving coaching and thinking about that deep listening and how it's connected.
That's beautiful. Thank you for that. I listen to not to change you, so to be changed by you. That's beautiful. Barry.
I think a big part of intuition and is and coaching is the energy, right?
Right.
I think that when you approach someone, you bring a certain type of energy. So the energy I bring and the energy they meet me with opens the door for the conversation that we could have. Um, and and my training is my tool that I always have to reference. It's always once I become trained and I can trust my training, it's always there. And but I think the one of the biggest things for me in making connections is the energy. Sometimes you can come in a room and a person is in a bad state. They have like some negative energy, and it's my responsibility to bring the positive energy. You know,
Hmm.
and a lot of times that's where we could meet. You know what I mean? I think, and part of intuition is recognizing that energy. What energy I'm bringing and what energies are they're bringing.
Hmm.
And sometimes it's difficult, but I'm only responsible for bringing my energy. I'm not responsible for this. So
Yeah. Love that. Thank you, Barry. Hilu.
Yes, as I'm thinking about this, the intellect and the intuition, it brings me back a few months ago. I was going through some challenges in terms of we know the idea of discovering and managing our own stuff. That came up for me a lot more after even after all these years of something triggering me or whatever it may be, and going to that space, not allowing me to get creative. So the intellect part of me was trying to justify that and figure that out. And then I had to go back to the roots of being curious, as you all said, staying curious, invoking the curiosity, which became now I see that identified as the intuition part, which allowed me to be able to get past that much faster, to continue. So the intellect part was just staying in that piece and trying to science it out, figure it out. But the intuition is that when I started saying, I'm curious about what's going on, I found such instant interest in being connected or connected to that person and putting my challenges that it just transformed back to the roots for me. So the intellect and the intuition is for me was that managing my own stuff. But then when I introduced the intuition of curiosity, the connection flourished. It's a lot faster, and glad to be back to that root.
Anybody else? The art and science of recovery coaching. Anything else you're thinking about? When you're in the role, do you think of yourself as an artist ever? And what would that mean? I mean, we had some, Sarah, go ahead.
I think of myself more as a surfer.
Okay.
But I think there's an artistry to that, right? Like you're trying to ride the wave and read the situation and kind of bring in, kind of keep your head on a swivel and read the conditions right. And I think there is an artistry in that, I really do. Because you can certainly, or I can feel when I'm about to fall off the board, or I can feel when I've read the situation wrong, or I've read the wave wrong, or I get dunked or it's a different thing, and then those beautiful moments where it's just, you kind of, and you can recover. Certainly it's not always about, you don't always fall off the board, but that's what comes to my mind.
I think too, since I've been in retirement, I've been spending more in this artist state, like, and trying to find what Megan, you just wrote about, a flow state, right? Like back when I was a kid, when you were playing tennis, they would about like be in the zone where you weren't even thinking, you were just like hitting great shot after great shot, and you didn't even know how or why. You were just playing. I think like I also believe that coaching is a way to be in the world. It's not just when we're in front of a recovery or somebody seeking coaching. Coaching is just a way to be in the world. It's about sensing that flow, the intuition of where we are, what the person is thinking. And I think what we're talking about, a lot of that ties into it. Scott.
Yes, I heard in one of these trainings in the past that one of the greatest compliments that you can receive from your recovery is them telling you that was a good question, and
Yeah.
and that's always stuck with me. So I'm
Mhm.
always trying to think of my next question, and not that I always can come up with them on the spot, but I'm always thinking, and we talked about being curious, right? And
Yeah.
so I'm always trying to ask that question.
Right. Yeah, that asking questions gets us out of ourselves and trying to give advice. It just gets us out of ourselves and it helps us be curious. And you've mentioned that a lot, Scott. So that's a great point. Thank you. New London.
Yeah, so I was thinking about the question about whether we consider ourselves artists, and I can't say I've really like ever thought to like label myself as such in an RC fashion, but like the more I think about it, if there was like a medium for the art form, it would be just communication. And then you kind of said, we carry that. I feel like we kind of carry this art not only within the RC sessions, but outside of here. And whenever we're discussing this, I always talk about our, recovery coaching as helping in many different facets of our lives. I think relationships were brought up, but so I
Mhm.
guess, yeah, I would consider it an art form, like a form of expression. How the first thing I want to put out to the world is at the end of the day, my choice and my making, my own creation. So yes, I guess so.
Cool. Thank you. Anybody else about the term artist and recovery coach? Any thoughts about that? Artist and recovery coach.
I think people are afraid to call themselves artists, and I hear constantly when I'm doing my more art-based like theater and storytelling work, oh, I'm not a creative person. I don't know how to be creative. And I'm like, that's such bullshit. You just think you don't have creativity in you. But I think that people are afraid to claim that for themselves. And the truth is that every single one of us is an artist. Every single one of us has amazing creative energy. And it's fear that keeps us from claiming that for ourselves.
Well, do you think people think artist as a negative term or a positive term in general? Khalees, you can't just talk to the camera. Come
I
on.
know. I talk to myself. I would say positive. I mean, like, art is just, there's art is wonder, awe. It's so amazing. Art can be, how do you put a definition on art? My son, I'll give you an example. My son, he had to do this project and he brought it home and I was like, dude, this is amazing. Make something out of whatever. He goes, Mom, I messed up. Like it was supposed to. And I was like, the thing with art is there's not a wrong way to do it either. Like everybody,
Right.
if you look at art, I might see this and you see this. We can talk, it's just fascinating. And so it's a gift, but the ability to see art, to see, like Megan, I think that's kind of what you're talking about. Like you see it in people. And I think our ability as coaches to see those gifts and strengths, and we're like, so I don't actually call myself the artist. I actually am calling probably the recovery the artist now that I'm saying it out loud, because I'm like, if only you could see what you're capable of and what you're saying
Right.
and what you're doing.
So,
I'm just
yeah,
I'm just sitting there showing up ready to have a conversation. How can I help? What's going on? Like, but
you
they're
know, like
artists,
what,
they're art.
but so and I'll ask you guys to do this in the chat real quick. We have a few times. So, on the Recovery Coach Academy, we have you like describe person in recovery, addict, alcoholic. Here's the term. How, in single words and short phrases, how do you describe artist? And put it in the chat. Broke.
Well,
Right.
yeah.
A gift. Just the term artist, wonder, awe. I mean, doesn't anybody have like the Van Gogh theory that they're crazy whack jobs that are gonna cut their ear off? I don't know. Jackson Pollock suicidal. I don't know. I don't know. Talented, something out of nothing. Artist, all that. So I think there's a lot of, when we think about calling yourself an artist, there was a guy that was Sandy and I are having our kitchen redone, and he installed the cabinets, and he had to do all the trim work around the top, and there's crown molding and different pieces, and I said, man, you're an artist, and he just like sat back and went, artist? I go, yeah, look at how you're doing that. And he goes, I never thought about myself as an artist before. And he kind of like just sat quiet with it for a while and was pondering it like, I'm just like a carpenter, just doing what I'm installing cabinets, and this is part of it. But I think in anything we do, I mean, you can go out and cut the lawn, and how are you gonna make those rows? Are you gonna put a little curve to them? Are you going to like hatch them, go back and forth? Are you going to make sure the lines are straight? I mean, you can look at anything. But here's another part. Part of being an artist, and Megan talked about as a recovery coach, and this is kind of a corny analogy, but it came to me. Are there times where we paint a picture of possibility for someone or help them paint their own picture of possibility? And doesn't that take some creativity and art to it to Lisa was talking about literally there's times we open up like an open canvas like Megan just said. Um, they can visually see it in us, whether we can even say it or not. But when we ask them, um, we help them turn into an artist when we ask them that second question. What does recovery look like for you? Right? Any thoughts or comments about that, about how we create possibility and opportunity and let them see things maybe? Lots of heads nodding, but anybody care to add to that or share? Please.
Perhaps the greatest artists are the ones that inspire art in others.
Yeah. Lisa,
You
come
know,
back. Lisa, come back.
Um, I will not soapbox, but I do think we also have to surrender our attachment to how we define it, right? And like really authentically be like, what you do with it is yours. And when they put that out there, really mean it and practice it. And if we have a bias or we have a judgment, it will be felt. Like, so if I create something, put it on the wall, and you think it's ugly, I'm gonna know that. And so it's really powerful if we can like really get behind it, and it's easier said than done. And like in a lot of places that I've worked, people have defined that for another person, just like recovery pathways or abstinence versus um art as a path, for example, right? They've decided that, oh well, if they use that image or they create something that looks evil or bad, that gives that person the right to determine whether it's even art or not, right? And throw it out or change it or so what we welcome, I think, as recovery coaches is for people to do it and then for us to manage like, whoa, was I really attached to a bias right there? Because I probably was. And it's
Hmm.
so
Yeah, Th that's fast. That's good stuff. So thank you, Lisa. Um, I think when an artist just is a way, and why I wanted to explore this with all of you is because when I retired, I'm claiming or trying to claim the title of artist. And Lisa was one of the last conferences I did in August, helped me to see that other people appreciated my art. And I was never in it to like create art for like the approval of others. And maybe, it was just something I it's like a creative flow, something that needs to get out of me, something that's like I love that you guys use the word expression. So why I wanted to run this coaching for coaches is for me personally, my spin on this was to help me claim the title of artist. Label myself, like label myself an artist and try that on. And what does that mean? And I think I like it. It took me a long time to like claim the title of leader, claim the title of executive director, claim the title of even coach. I had to try these things on to see if they fit me, right? And now I'm creating art and I can see how it's evolving. And if I'm doing it daily and disciplined, how it's evolved. And I'm also starting to see, and I'm not really concerned if people like it or not. I'm not
Mhm.
really all that concerned. I'm just doing it, and I'll put them in a book. And if they get, but I think to me, it's like I was saying a lot about journaling and write something by hand. If you create art, you're contributing to the collective consciousness on some level, and you're helping it evolve by expressing yourself and by creating, whether you're drawing, painting, sculpting, dancing, coaching, however you want to express yourself. If that's your true intent and who you are, you're contributing to the greater good. I believe that with all my heart. We might not understand it in this form, in this life, but I think we gain a huge understanding um, down the road in other dimensions. I just do.
I'm curious, and I bet you everybody else is curious as well. What's your definition of art?
I don't, uh, expression.
Right.
It's I think simply put, if I was going to use a creative expression, meh, meh. But it is because I don't really have one. I don't, yeah. Anyway, thank you guys. It's 11:30. Our 90 minutes are up. Thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I appreciate you helping me see things a little bit clearer.